Thank you very much, Glencora. Taoiseach, today, if we go ahead with government proposals on giving extra times for government backing TDs in an opposition time, it shows how far this government is capable of going in relation to eroding the democracy of the island of Ireland. Taoiseach, our general election took place on November the 29th, 2024, and for a couple of months a government had to be put together. On January the 22nd, the Dáil stood for the first time to be forced to call off Dáil proceedings so an agreement could be made to bring the speaking row to an end. All of this time, Taoiseach, we, the opposition, were united on one front, that Michael Lowry's group had a right to speaking times in this Dáil, but not on opposition time. And every effort since has been to do everything but that by government. On the morning of the 23rd of January, you, Taoiseach, and the Taoiseach met with us leaders to end this row and let the Dáil get back to the business it had to do, elect a Taoiseach, set up committees. We all agreed that we would work together to create a solution on this hugely important issue for this country. Less than an hour later, Minister Hildegard Naughton read the statement into the Dáil record, agreed by you and the Taoiseach and all the opposition, that the government will today bring forward a motion to establish the Committee on Standing Orders and Dáil Reform and to work to secure agreement as soon as possible and acceptable to the government and the opposition as regards to technical groups. The Business Committee met that day and agreed we would all put forward submissions on a way forward. Again, the opposition were clear. We never denied any speaking times to Michael Lowry's group of 6 TDs, but it would be specifically during government speaking time slots, not opposition, as they have clearly agreed to support this government one way or another, which is their own prerogative, I may add. The next scheduled Dáil Reform meeting was scheduled for February 26. At this meeting came the bombshell by Chief Whip Mary Butler that the previous verbal agreement given by you and the Taoiseach, read out by the Minister Hildegard Naughton, was now being reneged on, and a railroading of democracy was now going ahead. Taoiseach, you will say to me today, when summing up, we had enough time to try and get an agreement from the opposition, but you would not agree. But in fact, since the day you were elected, we had only 2 Dáil Reform meetings to try and resolve this issue. In 28 days, I know, as I have attended these meetings. Taoiseach, I ask you, are you a man of your word or not? Do you agree with me that this was a sequence of events? And am I right in saying, if you really wanted to bring this to a fair and honest end, you would have asked your Chief Whip to meet every day to resolve the issue, and not 2 meetings, one to iron out the procedures for the next meeting, and the next to railroad through, making a mockery of this House and its procedures. Taoiseach, we have written to you numerous times to try and resolve this issue, and to make sure this dark day for democracy would not happen, but you have chosen to ignore us. Will you, at this late stage, sit down with the opposition leaders and trash out an agreement to bring this sorry episode to an end, Taoiseach?
I think such hyperbole is really stretching it. I mean, the bottom line is this: is that 3 of the opposition parties gain more time now in terms of holding the government to account. That's the factual position, as a result of 20 hours of discussions and so forth between the Chief Whip and the whips of the other parties, and also in terms of the Dáil Reform Committee. And that's the mechanism that we've established, and in terms of the Dáil Reform Committee itself. And what I would say to you, Deputy, is from your perspective, you're not losing any time. You're not, compared to the last Dáil, you're actually gaining time. And that's the bottom line here.
You'll have your chance.
It was raised earlier.
This is Deputy
If you compare Dáil
question.
to any other parliament in Europe, you will find that the opposition has more time than any other opposition in any other parliament across Europe, and certainly in terms of the Prime Minister across Europe, no Prime Ministers in Dáil earn more than the Irish Taoiseach. And these can be checked out and looked at in terms of other parliaments across Europe. So this proposal is proportionate, because it's endeavouring to give backbench TDs of the government parties and independent TDs an opportunity, 8 minutes on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday. So all this row, the dark day of Irish democracy, is about 8 minutes extra on a Tuesday, 8 minutes extra on a Wednesday, and this apparently we're on the brink of a terrible sort of negativity and so on like that. And so, Deputies, over the last 10 years, there's been a consistent incremental increase in time allocated to smaller groups within the Dáil, to independents within the Dáil. I mean, there's a group on the far left, they have about 3 or 4, and they have more speaking rights than anybody with 40 TDs or more, and so on like that. And that's been the reality over the last 10 years. And there does need to be a degree of rebalancing. And backbench TDs do need the opportunity to ask questions as
Deputies,
well. And there's no big deal in that, and it doesn't in any way, because the big demand from you at the beginning, when we met with you, as you outlined, the big issue is you didn't want to lose any time. You have not lost any time. You've actually gained time across the opposition groups themselves.
It's Deputy Collins's time.
And again, it's interesting. I've made a fundamental point. When a general election happens, Deputy, and you know this because you've engaged with us on different times after different elections, governments have to be formed. There is the realpolitik of forming a government. Governments have to be formed. Okay? Some people have no interest in forming a government, fair enough, but others do. And the programme for government...
Deputies, please.
The programme for government is the document that binds people who are going to support the government together. But I would make this point. Underlying all of this, and Deputy, you know, in a certain extent you said we could have brought this to an end. I actually don't think the opposition really want to bring this to an end, because you're enjoying it a bit for your own electoral purposes.
Thank you. Deputy
but I want to
Collins
make this point
respond.
strategically. Oh, sorry.
You can make it, Deputy Collins.
Thank you very much, Councillor Taoiseach. It looks like no matter what we say here, you are going to railroad through these changes. It is very clear to the good, honest, hard-working people of this country that this is what you were going to do anyway. You have to be straight and honest, Taoiseach. What is the deal you have done with Michael Lowry that has you spellbound? We know the deal has cost over $5 million already, with extra super junior ministers, extra junior ministers and extra payments for them alone over 5 years. Is it going to cost the honest, hard-working taxpayer $50 million? 100 million, 200 million or plus? We need to know. The taxpayer needs to know. The ordinary man and woman who can't afford to pay bills weekly need to know here and now. They know it's a sleazy deal that taxpayers must pay heavy, and on top of that you want them to ask planted questions in this House to make a mockery of the Irish people in Dáil. I ask you again, come clean on the deal that might yet crumble around you and pull back from the mockery of the Irish people who are not with you on this one. Admit you cut 45 minutes of Taoiseach's questions. Will you admit you cut the order of business time? Will you admit you have cut private members' bills for our own party for 20% on Wednesdays and Thursdays? This Lowry deal has cost us enough, Taoiseach, financially in this country. Don't let it cost us our democracy all.
Thank you, Deputy Collins. Taoiseach. Deputies.
You can't be serious. Like, costing our democracy. 8 minutes. 8 minutes on a Tuesday, and our democracy is gone.
Please.
I know, come on, it's farcical. But I think, in a more serious vein, to account for that,
Deputy.
what's really behind this as well,
Deputy.
and it's very clear that the opposition.
Deputy, resume
Deputy.
your seat. Deputy, resume your seat. This is Deputy Collins's time. This is Deputy. Deputy, I'm afraid the fundamental issue here is your lack of respect for the chair. The salient ruling. Of yourselves, and I am loath to say again, resume your seat, Deputy. Resume your seat, Deputy. All deputies, resume your seat. Deputy, out of respect, is it Deputy? Sorry, Deputy. Deputy, whilst you may not have respect for me.
Why they're breaking their word to the opposition? They told us on the day, on the floor here, he's made the commitment, it would be an agreement. Tell us now why you're breaking your word.
If you...
What that guy do to you in between?
Deputy, resume your seat.
You can laugh all you want, me out. You can laugh all you want, but it is not funny. It is not funny. It is not funny what you're doing.
You're making... For the public watching, you are making a wholly... One of your colleagues mentioned misogyny. the government to have respect for the Count Corla's ruling, why ye yourselves are seemingly incapable of accepting